Dawn breaks cold and grey inside Kemenam Goyo. It's May 1916 in Dublin, weeks after the Easter Rising has been crushed. In a dim cell stands Éamon de Valera, a 33-year-old rebel commandant awaiting his fate. He had led a battalion at Boland's Bakery during the insurrection, a bid to free Ireland from British rule, and now the British court-martial's verdict is in: death by firing squad. One by one, he heard the rifles crack in the yard as his comrades, Pierce, Connolly, MacDonald, and the rest met their end. De Valera steels himself for the same sacrifice, heart pounding with a mix of fear and defiance. He is ready to die for Ireland, whispering a prayer in the pre-dawn gloom as footsteps echo towards his cell. But miraculously, the footsteps march past. His execution is halted. In a twist of fate, the British have commuted his death sentence to life in prison. Unknown to De Valera, his newborn American citizenship and growing public outrage at the executions have spared him. Instead of a martyr's grave, he is shipped to a British prison. The rebel, who was almost shot at dawn, now lives on, destiny having intervened at the final hour. In Lincoln Prison in England, De Valera refuses to languish in a cell while Ireland's fight rages on. By early 1919, he had spent months as a prisoner, but his mind is still on the revolution beyond the prison walls. He paces in his cell, quietly plotting. Outside, his comrades, Michael Collins and Harry Boland, are hatching a daring rescue plan. A fruitcake arrives for the prisoner De Valera. Inside the dense loaf, hidden under sugary icing, lie the tools of his liberation: blank keys, files, and perhaps a master key, all smuggled in piece by piece. Night after night, De Valera and a trusted cellmate surreptitiously grind and file metal against stone, shaping a key that might fit the prison door. Each scrape of metal is a heartbeat of hope. Finally, a foggy February night, the words of Lincoln Jail fall silent. De Valera wraps strips of clothes and an old sock over his boot to muffle his footsteps. With a trembling hand, inserts the handmade key into the lock, and he turns. Heart pounding, he slips out into the corridor, joined by two fellow Irish prisoners. They go through the prison yard, every step measured and silent. Beyond the wall, an escape car is waiting. De Valera pauses under the stars for a breath, a free man's breath, then climbs over to freedom. In the days that followed, headlines shout of the Irish Houdini who vanished from Lincoln Prison with a key baked in a cake. The once condemned rebel is now an escaped leader on the run, determined to continue the fight. Back in Ireland, the spark of rebellion had become a full-blown guerrilla war. By 1919, the Irish Republican Army wages a relentless campaign of ambush and sabotage against the British forces. The Irish Republic has been declared by an underground parliament, the Dáil Éireann, and they even named Valera fresh out of prison as the president of the republic in hiding. Though British soldiers hunt him, De Valera refuses to cower. He moves in shadows from safe house to safe house or sleeps abroad under aliases. In one bold chapter, he sails across the Atlantic to America, the land of his birth, to rally support. There, he speaks to roaring Irish-American crowds and raises badly needed funds for Ireland's cause. Standing under fluttering stars and stripes, he reminds them that a full American citizen now leads Ireland's fight for freedom. But even as money and sympathy pour in, no great power intervenes. The war in Ireland grinds on, village by village. Through it all, De Valera carries the memory of 1916, the executed friends, the dream of independence. By 1921, after years of bloodshed, the exhausted British government agrees to talk. A ceasefire is declared. The guns fall silent, and for the first time, De Valera dares to imagine that victory, or at least its shadow, may be at hand. Yet the battle for Ireland's soul is about to enter a new arena, one of ink and paper rather than bullets. In the Gilded Hall of London, in late 1921, negotiations begin. De Valera, the proud and unyielding president of the Irish Republic, makes the controversial decision not to lead the delegation himself, sending Michael Collins and others in his place. Night after night, the Irish envoys spar with the British Prime Minister Lloyd George over the terms of Ireland's freedom, dominion status, partition of the island, and oath to the crown. The British insist on conditions that feel like shackles to the idealists of 1916. In Dublin, de Valera waits anxiously for news, pacing like a caged lion. He knows Collins is under ferocious pressure in London. Letters and cables fly back and forth. At 2 a.m. on December 6, 1921, the Irish delegation signs an agreement. When Collins and others return home with the Anglo-Irish Treaty in hand, de Valera's heart sinks as he reads its terms. Ireland to be split, the 6 northern counties cleaved up as Northern Ireland, and the new free Irish states will swear allegiance to the British king. To de Valera, this compromise is nothing less than the betrayal of the Republic, proclaimed on the steps of the GPO in 1916. As the Irish cabinet meets, voices rise in anger. "We have surrendered the Republic for the king's shilling," one side cries. Collins argues it's the only path to peace, calling it a stepping stone to full freedom. De Valera, eyes flashing, slams his hand on the table. He cannot and will not accept these terms. The room falls into a heavy silence. Outside, Ireland's people hold their breath, not knowing that an even darker conflict is coming. Bitter winter rain falls on Dublin as news of the treaty divides the nation. In public debates and newspapers, a rift slashes through friendship and families. Pro-treaty versus anti-treaty, those willing to accept compromise versus those who see it as treason. For de Valera, it feels personal and profound. He stands in the door and pleads against ratifying the treaty, voice trembling with emotion. The vision he and his fallen comrades shared, a sovereign Irish republic, has been battered away, he says. The treaty in his eyes betrays the ideals for which so much blood was shed. Some who once fought by his side now call him unrealistic, even dangerous. Others hail him as the last guardian of the true republic. In January 1922, the day of votes on the treaty, de Valera watches in agony as it passes by a handful of votes. Democracy had spoken, but it has broken his heart. He resigns as the leader of the nascent state in protest. Outside, crowds gather, some cheering for peace, others weeping or raging at the betrayal. Civil authority unravels. Resigned to what he sees as a grievous mistake, de Valera turns away from the parliament he once led. On the streets, former comrades glare at each other across political lines. Michael Collins, now commander-in-chief of the new Free State Army, prepares to enforce the treaty rule. Éamon de Valera, a die-hard Republican, feels the chill of isolation. He has lost the political battle, and now a more tragic fight among Irishmen looms. By the summer of 1922, Ireland descends into a nightmare civil war. Former brothers in arms now take up guns against each other, a war Irishman against Irishman. De Valera aligns himself with the anti-treaty IRA, though he wields more symbolism than control. He dons a Republican Army uniform and travels to rally volunteers, his words heavy with sorrowful resolve. In June, the crack of artillery shatters the Dublin Dome as the Free State forces bombard their own rebel-held forecourts. The city that survived one revolution now endures another, street by street. De Valera moves through makeshift camps and street meetings, his heart weighed down by the tragic reversal of fortune. He sees young men who fought the British now pointing rifles at their countrymen. Each death reported, every enemy or friend is another slice of agony. Harry Boland, his close friend who helped engineer the Lincoln escape, is shot and killed by Free State soldiers. Michael Collins, the brilliant leader who signed the treaty, is ambushed and slain on a country road by anti-treaty bullets. De Valera receives that news with a vacant stare. The man who was once like a younger brother to him is gone, lost to a war neither had wanted. By 1923, the Civil War grinds to an end in a bitter anticlimax. The Republican cause is defeated, its fighters laying down arms to stop the fratricide. Ireland is free of British rule in name, but the cost is a nation with a shattered soul. De Valera emerges from hiding and is arrested by the Free State for a time, a fallen leader in chains once again. In a damp prison cell, he contemplates the wreckage. Cities smoldering, former comrades dead or estranged, the Republican dream seemingly in tatters. Was this what we bled for? He wonders in silent torment. Yet, even in defeat, something in Éamon de Valera refuses to die. The embers of hope still burn in him, faint but alive. There must be another way to achieve the Ireland he envisioned, if not through war, then through peace. In the years after the Civil War, de Valera undergoes a profound transformation. He comes out of prison grayer, thinner, carrying the weight of loss, but also a newfound determination. The British-backed Irish Free State that he despised is now a reality, and de Valera makes a stark choice. He will walk within the system to change it. In 1926, gathering a handful of loyalists, he breaks with the hardliners and found a new political party, Fianna Fáil, Soldiers of Destiny. To many Republicans, it's unthinkable. De Valera taking an oath of allegiance to the very crown he fought against in order to enter the Free State Parliament. Yet he does it, calling the oath merely an empty formula. The first time he repeats those words, swearing loyalty to King George V, his voice almost catches, but he swallows his pride for the greater goal. In 1927, Fianna Fáil takes its seat in the Dáil, and de Valera, dressed in plain suits instead of a military uniform, rises to speak, not with bullets, but ballots. Over the next few years, he patiently rebuilds his influence. Ordinary Irish people weary of conflict begin to see in de Valera not just the firebrand of 1916, but a leader who can bring stability without selling out the national spirit. By 1932, in a dramatic reversal of fortune, de Valera wins the national elections. The former condemned rebel becomes head of government, the president of the Executive Council, in other words, Prime Minister of the Irish Free State. In a poignant scene, the outgoing leader, W.T. Cosgrave, one of those who supported the treaty, hands power to de Valera peacefully. The two men clasp hands. It's more than a political transition. It's a quiet vindication. De Valera stands at the threshold of government offices he was once kept out of, now holding the reins of a nation. He has played the long game and it's finally paying off. Yet, his most lasting achievements and the ultimate fulfillment of the revolutionary cause still lie ahead. By the mid-1930s, Éamon de Valera is not just leading Ireland, he is reshaping it. Every morning, he walks into his office with one guiding thought: to finish the work of independence from within. Across his desk are drafts of a new supreme law for the land, a document that will sever the last vestiges of colonial authority. For countless evenings, de Valera pores over clauses and articles, his wire-rimmed glasses sliding down his nose as he fine-tunes phrasing. He consults with jurists and clergy, drafting a constitution that reflects Ireland's soul, its ancient heritage, its Christian values, its hard-won sovereignty. In 1937, on the 5th anniversary of his government, de Valera unveils the Constitution of Ireland. The new constitution is more than legal text. It's the poetic achievement of a dream. It declares Ireland a sovereign, independent state with an elected president as head of state instead of any British monarch. Reading its Proclamation of Freedom, de Valera cannot help but think of the 1916 Easter Proclamation and the men who signed it in blood. Now, these ideals live again on parchment, but this time internationally recognized. Under de Valera's steady hand, Ireland systematically sloughed off the symbols of subservience. The oath to the crown is gone. The British Governor-General is sent home. When the Constitution is approved by the people in a referendum, church bells ring out in cold December morning in 1937. De Valera attends Mass that day and offers a prayer of thanks, not for himself, but for Ireland. He knows history has been made. The young rebel who once exchanged gunfire with British troops now uses ink and law to secure his nation's destiny. And yet, incredibly, Éamon de Valera's journey is not over. An even more symbolic chapter awaits to close the circle of his life. On a summer day in 1959, an elderly statesman stands before a cheering crowd at Dublin Castle. His hair is snow white, his tall frame stooped ever so slightly, but his presence is as commanding as ever. Éamon de Valera, now 76 years old, raises his hand to silence the applause. In that moment, he takes the oath of office as President of Ireland. The Irish tricolour flutters above, and the military band plays the national anthem he helped create. It is a scene of profound poetic justice. 43 years earlier, this very man awaited execution by a foreign empire. Now he is the head of state of a free Ireland. As president, de Valera's role is largely ceremonial, but the symbolism cannot be missed. Foreign ambassadors present their credentials to him, including envoys of Great Britain, who now must bow to the man they once condemned to die. Standing in the presidential residence that first night, de Valera gazes out at the dark silhouette of Dublin. Perhaps he thinks of the ghost of 1916, Pierce, Connolly, and all the others who did not live to see this day. In his heart, he whispers, "We made it despite everything." The journey from a prison cell to the presidency has been almost biblical in scope, fraught with war, heartbreak, sacrifice, and redemption. And Éamon de Valera, the survivor of it all, gently closes his eyes and allows himself a rare moment of pride. His life has been Ireland's story: rebellion, despair, revival, and triumph. De Valera's story shows how one man's unwavering vision helped transform a nation. It is the unbelievable true saga of an Irish president who escaped the firing squad to eventually wear the laurels of leadership. A story of destiny, faith, and the indomitable will of a people to be free.